a problem is not a problem, it's a challenge, and how can I solve this challenge? How can I overcome this challenge? How can I take that challenge and turn it into something positive? That's when you feel positive about it.
Hi, and welcome, Shawn McFarland. Thank you for joining us. I'm Jessica Antonelli, and I'm going to be asking you a few questions today for the Southeast TX Permaculture Community.
Well, thank you. My name is Shawn McFarland, and I took my permaculture certification in 2000. So, one of the older dogs in the tribe. I got my certification in April 2000, so that was 20 years ago, and it would be from what's now known as the Permaculture Guild of Houston, or probably their first class, by the people that we know and love now, who most of them are still there teaching the class. I helped with their planning group after that to design a continuation of the next year's class or the year after that's class. And it morphed into a different type of class, but I helped facilitate it. And when I worked for an architectural firm, we actually had the class at our library there. They hosted it for the next year until we became part of Leisure Learning and then under the Urban Harvest umbrella. After that first year, I took a sabbatical. I was laid off. And I took a 2-year sabbatical, and I got deeply involved in all things sustainable. I read and went to workshops and seminars and traveled to the West Coast a bit for green building conferences. And I was still going to the Permaculture Guild of Houston's monthly potluck, and I was facilitating the class every week. So for a period of about 4 years, I was still taking the class because I was facilitating, I was opening up the room, I was setting up the chairs, I was taking the attendance. And during those 2 years, I studied more permaculture, green building, sick building syndrome, deep ecology, nature, ecological design. And then I went to work for a very small firm that did green building.
And your background is specifically...
I'm an architect.
Mm-hmm.
Permaculture turned me green, but permaculture is a process, as you probably know yourself. You don't just, it's like learning gardening. You don't just read a book and go take a class and then get some experience and then I know it all. It's a continuous learning process, just like life is.
Absolutely.
And permaculture is an approach to living life that shows you different aspects of evaluating your assets so that you can be less carbon intensive or more efficient or greener or use less energy. Or, there are a lot of different ways to look at that. And it certainly adjusted my paradigm. And then I'd say that after about 4 or 5 years, I started to teach. So once I started to teach, it expanded me even more, especially working for this green architect, doing green homes and teaching. And because of Dr. Randall, I also was able to join the board at Urban Harvest, and that opened up a whole new arena to me. So the permaculture started the thinking process and helping me evaluate life a whole lot differently. As you know, it's a life-changing experience.
It truly is. And it sounds like it had a huge impact on the way you reshaped getting back into your career after your sabbatical.
I was able to go to work for somebody who'd taken his permaculture class in 1994, and I took my class in 2000. So there's a lot of those people are out there, that have previous certifications through other teaching situations. So he had permaculture certification. He was a low carbon. He's kind of low carbon, more green, because he could do a big house. But I'm more interested in doing more concise. What do you need? Let's just give you what you need, because I don't think anybody really feels anymore like they need a media room and a gym and a and a cook's pantry and a kitchen and, all those extra spaces that those big houses have. Changed the entire trajectory of my work. And I worked for him for almost 5 years, and then I went on my own. And then I'm semi-retired now because I'm so involved in other things like teaching and nonprofit work.
Excellent. That leads me right to the next question, which is, what are your other permaculture-related projects, whether that be in the nonprofit sphere or just personal interests? Or
I would say that all the design work I do is very definitely low carbon and permaculture design. Now, permaculture design is really seen more as a landscape method, and I'm an architect, but we have all kinds of people in our network who are arborists and who run farms, and it's a lot more than just gardening and growing food. It's really a holistic way of shaping your existence so that you can live a lower carbon footprint, and you can influence others to do the same. So I think I got into the teaching so heavily because I love influencing the others. And then that led me into the nonprofit arena, Urban Harvest Experience, and I was president of the board of Citizens Environmental Coalition, on their board for 7 years. And I have co-founded 2 other nonprofit organizations also.
And what are those?
Well, Transition Houston, which came from a permaculture project about 10 years ago. And the person who did that project is named Mark Judman. And he moved back to Montana to be closer to his family and his family's farm, and to help his parents and family run this big ranch, I guess, and his brothers. And there's a small group of us that get together frequently to plan events, classes, workshops, or we have a Zoom seminar coming up in a week and a half on the Resilient Garden, we call it. Ooh. Transition Houston was his student tutorial project that he used to graduate and get his certification. And the man who invented the concept is a permaculture teacher from the UK. And started this transition initiative. And so we did permablitzes. We've done 20 so odd permablitzes. So we're going to bring that resource to this group also. And then the other one is called Friends of Don Green. And Don Green passed away in 2016. He was locally known as the canoe guy. Mm-hmm. And he was a wilderness outfitter and took canoe trips up and down Buffalo Bayou, into Colorado, and he's been all over both Colorado rivers and the Rio Grande. He was the co-founder of Arflung out in Terlingua. So he was a local environmentalist, and he had a 1-acre homestead, and on his deathbed, he wanted it to be left as a nature park. And so we, a couple of us, worked real closely with the executor to push him into finding a place, and it became a county park, a low impact park. It's completely wooded, and it's over in the southwest area and off of near Beech Nut and Hillcroft on Cypress. And the Friends of Don Green kind of got set up because he was giving us all instructions on his deathbed to do this, to do that. Wow. So a couple of us got together, and then we joined Houston Peace and Justice Center, which is another group I belong to, for our nonprofit status. Mm-hmm. And then we formed our own nonprofit. So our goal is to do a film of them. We have an excellent website, Friends of Don Green. We do a monthly volunteer work out there. It's all completely natural and heavily shaded. And it's an amazing local park asset to the people who live in the neighborhood. So all of that keeps me busy.
And then some. I can only imagine. That's a lot.
My mother used to kid me. She says, "You don't have time for a job."
Too busy getting things done.
Too busy doing things.
Right.
How much I'm getting done, because we never do it alone.
Well, that in itself is amazing. I mean, especially with what we're doing here is, as a group of permaculture people, I'm hearing so much value in all the experience you have, and oh my gosh, like what magic happens just getting people together and helping tell stories of others who've come before and done amazing.
Right.
So inspiring. So given that you have so much experience and so much that you've taught and started, I'm curious as to what, if any, topics or interests you're still interested in learning more about as a permaculturist.
Well, I could use more. Well, I just took a class I just finished a class in December for the Texas Master Naturalist.
Ooh.
Because my partner with Friends of Don Green took a class, and then they were offering it here locally, and then I partnered up with a lady who was one of my students 10 or 12 years ago, and we went there together, did it all together. So I'm having trouble with my volunteer time because everything's so limited right now because of the pandemic. But see, I learned about geology, and I'm always wanting to learn more about a lot of things. But I was particularly taken with geology, and then they talk about bugs and butterflies and birds and fish and mammals and trees and prairies and eco environments. It's a stunning class. A lot of it overlaps with permaculture, but a lot of it is new information for me. And I'd like to know more about basic gardening, because I've decided to go ahead and put in a vegetable garden at the end of August, a small one.
Oh, I know you got a lot of friends who can help you out with that.
I have a person who's a student in the class right now that got hung up from the pandemic and she can't finish. And when she started taking the class, she started her own business and doing raised garden beds. So she's on the West Coast right now. She'll be back in August. So I'm going to commission her to build me some, because I was waiting because I'm going to renovate, but I can't wait any longer. There's new urgency to the world situation right now, in my opinion.
I agree with you there. So you're already teaching quite a bit. What is the rundown of courses or workshops or just anywhere that people could find you teaching right now?
What I teach in the permaculture class is green building, natural building products, what you can do in the city, if you have to, what you can't do in the city, eco villages, co-housing, different kind of alternative lifestyles. And the next frontier I want to cross is solar energy, because I'm going to put in a small addition to my house, and I want to make it solar and be as net zero as I can. And I want to do it in a way that nobody's doing it now. They're all grid connected, or the battery backup is, I have a different approach that I want to implement with my addition and turning my house greener, and then be an example to others. And then I'll be able to teach that solar section, because you really have to have practical experience with these topics to teach.
Absolutely. Yeah. Excellent. So yeah, your plate is full. Where do you find that you are channeling the most energy into right now? Do you have a specific project that is like your passion project right now?
I'm trying to get ready for a renovation of my house. So it's basically going to have to pack everything up and move it to the garage, and then in order to redo the floors and things like that. I find that life gets in the way sometimes, and so things don't always run according to schedule. Yeah. I'm also a huge consumer of news, and it's because of my mother and my grandmother. My mother's mother were both avid newspaper readers, and my mother was a journalist and got a degree and wrote for a magazine here. And I do a lot of reading. I do a lot of political reading. I like biography, so I spend a lot of time reading right now. And it's really sluggish work in terms of all the other things I have on my list of things to do. So it's like I'm not going to beat myself up. I'm just going to get things done as I'm inspired to do them. And I got my yard ready for for spring, and I get my backyard ready for August for fall, and then maybe I'll get around to the renovation here next year.
Sounds like fun. You're certainly keeping busy.
I'm not. I don't have any commissions at the moment. I've had a couple real interesting ones in the last couple of years. I did a granny flat for somebody who became a real good friend, and we didn't build it, but we did get it permitted, and then there was a hang up, and so it was accessible, and it went through, and then I was working with another client who I designed a house for 10 years ago, and he wanted to do a small addition, and he went through the permitting, and then he decided he was going to join the Peace Corps.
Oh wow!
So I've done a couple of houses in the last few years. I've done a house at Japhet, and I've done a lot of little things. But it's not my bread and butter. It's the work. It's not my bread and butter.
I was going to ask if you've noticed in the past 20 years, as you've been getting more into permaculture and green building, if you notice that same trend happening with your clientele or just people in general looking to build or have projects in their house.
There are a lot more green architects out there. I heard an interview on the NPR or the local radio the other day of a local architect who designs tiny houses. It's like, well, I didn't know that existed in Houston. You can't put them anywhere, but he still designs them. You can't put them inside the city limits, but it didn't stop anybody from toying around with the idea, because it's they do exist in different places. So they're mostly guerrilla projects. But yes, there's a whole lot of people that this is important to people, especially the solar energy quotient of it. But what hasn't happened is that people haven't really downsized their perceived expectations. They still want that 5,000 square foot house, and I've got a 1,000 square foot house. So to me, that's more house than I need. And the only reason I'm doing an addition is because it's going to be kind of an all-weather room, and it's going to have an outside kitchen, and it's going to be kind of an area of refuge that I can exist in if I can't pay the electric bill.
Oh wow!
And I have to cook my own, I have to grow my own food, and et cetera, et cetera. So it is intended to make me net zero. Is what it is, but it's a very small addition.
What a perfect model for permaculture students to see an example of net zero living and sustainable sizing or footprint. That's so cool.
Yeah, well, that's why we started our class out at Dr. Randall's house.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's got as much square footage as I have, and a whole backyard and front yard full of food. So I want to be just like him when I grow up.
You get that feeling hanging out with both of y'all. So you probably saw in our last conversation with the whole group the Kumu website. Did you see that map and everything?
I've seen that before when Suzanne presented it before.
Cool.
As her project for graduation.
Oh, right.
So I know what the intention is. So I've been teaching this class for a long time, and I've seen a lot of students come through our class that get frustrated with us because they don't have a place to plug in once they're finished. Mm-hmm. We don't have examples to show people. Where's our permaculture demonstration area? What does this look like? Well, we can go all the way out to Animal Farm and we want to find out, but I've been working on trying to get a demonstration project started locally, and the pandemic kind of slowed it down, but it will get done. We'll have local, it's where we teach at the Japhet community, and we want to get some projects on the ground because that's the next step for us, and there's a place where we can gather over there too. So we'll have a place where we can meet and greet and potluck and things.
Excellent. And yeah, seeing it all on the map too makes it even more inspiring because it feels like you can reach out and like get there. So I was going to ask if, and it sounds like the Japhet Creek Center might be the place where you see yourself on that map. Do you see the main project you'd like to be referenced on as your addition to your own home? Or do you see it maybe more as the community center at Japhet? Or would you want to hesitate to put yourself on the map right now, but maybe be more of like a resource?
Oh, I definitely want to go on the map as a resource. Now,
Right.
what my skill set is is I would probably have to sit down and think about that. Certainly, as a low carbon expert and
Mm,
community organizer, designer, um,
green
uh,
architect.
somebody who I've often been described as if you don't know her, you need to know her because she knows so many people out there. So I'm like a node where there's a lot of people kind of coming out from my fingertips. But what I would like to see our group do is connect all that up so that we know where to go to look for resources and we can help other people. We can all become permaculture consultants because we can go to this resource map. And if somebody needs, I'll tell you how many times people come into our class and they say, I need to know, I've got this property out in the country and I need to know where to put the house. I said, I'm here at the introduction class. Can I learn that tonight? And I said, well, how much time do you have? Well, we got a contractor coming on Saturday. And it's like, no, that ain't going to work.
Right. Yeah, like you said in the beginning, it's a life-changing, lifelong journey.
It's a process, and just like anything else, you don't always have it right when you start off. And I've known a lot of people who teach in our network who've been doing it for a long time, and they're still learning things, still imparting knowledge and information. And there's these, but my skill set, I'd say, is probably the connectivity aspect of connecting people up and being a resource to bring more once we get the first tier done, and then we can bring in more people. I mean, I don't have the database of all the people, but I certainly know a lot of people because I see them every year at the Urban Harvest annual fruit tree sale.
Oh, yeah.
They all turn out there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
people need a place to plug into this organization because it's our failing right now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So it sounds like you're wholeheartedly behind the permaculture network that we're growing here with the Southeast Texas group. What would you say are the top three things that you would hope to see come out of this network?
Um, the feeling of being a part of the tribe, that people can uh, connect into something that has value for them because there are people in there that have been through the same experiences they have, and they may not. I mean, I don't know how many people around me in 5 mile radius have permaculture certification. I know the people that have gone through my class,
Mm-hmm.
and I can tell you there's at least 4, 5, or 6 of us out here in a 5 mile radius, and we've graduated almost. I'd say at least there's 150 people in the Houston area that I know about. So there's a lot of networking that I would like to see done, and I think that with Suzanne's help, we can kind of build the momentum and the system for putting all that together so it has a good foundation when it gets started,
Mm-hmm.
and it'll be easy to connect and build onto, like the maps you saw of Toronto. They're not little nodes of people out there in the middle of no space. There are all these connections going on, and so it would excite people in our class to know that they have some place that they can connect to and see examples and learn more about this or learn more about that. We've done cob ovens in our permablitzes.
Mm-hmm.
We've done 3 or 4 cob ovens, so um, anybody want to do a cob oven?
Right, right.
Where do I go to learn about how to build a cob oven? Well, we can find that on our network.
Beautiful. Yeah, I feel the same way. Tribe, like a group to call on, and then actually getting things built and done and seeing, like you were saying, perma blitzes.
Well, it's just It's building a sense of community because we live in a really large city where the sense of community is very neighborhood oriented,
Mm.
but the virtual community of permaculture graduates isn't connected. So they feel like they're in a bubble, they're isolated, they don't know. Uh, and if they knew, then we could start inviting people to activities, and you'd be shocked at how many people there are out there and what their skill set is. I think everybody in the group would be shocked to know.
Yeah.
And I talked to Gita at the farmers market. She goes, "Well, I don't know where these students, they go off and they just disappear." Well, it might seem that way, but we don't give them any place to connect either. So that's been the biggest challenge of this method of teaching. When I went through the Master Naturalist class, they gave us a method of connecting.
Mm.
They gave us a sense of identity. They gave us goals and future training and more information that we needed to gather. So we need to be doing that here too.
I love it. I'm signing up. So maybe to wrap things up, because that is all of our official questions for today, but I'm curious about, is there a specific story, maybe something like kind of what we kicked off the conversation about the problem turning out to be the solution, or maybe some specific instance that you might have had at a permaculture class that just stands out as maybe a learning aha moment between you and a student, or just a project that you got to see come to completion that was a really cool example? Any stories like that you have to share?
The only thing that really comes to mind about aha moments is I love that moment when a student sees a teacher practicing permaculture as their job.
Mm.
And they've seen how far they've come. Somebody like Patricia Michael or Kevin Topek or Joe Blanton or even Bob Randall, they're making their hobby into a real job. Andrew Cobb, they're making a living practicing permaculture.
Mm-hmm.
And they see that aha moment come across somebody's face in the class, and it really, to me, that's the moment where the light bulb goes off in their head, and I enjoy seeing that.
Well, I can say it happened to me. I took my permaculture class and like 6 months later, quit my job. Next thing you know, I'm a garden teacher. So
there you go. It's a life-changing experience, and it's hard to tell people that up front when you have no idea. It's a design methodology. It helps you, and I'm a designer, I'm an architect, so it fits me like a glove, but it gives you new tools, gives you a new set of glasses to view the world with, so that you're out there trying to mitigate the damage, that a lot of people are making to this world right now, the greenhouse gases, et cetera, et cetera. And I think that everybody staying home right now is certainly going to it's already brought our greenhouse gas load down. And people, when you can see the Himalayas in New Delhi, do you think they're going to forget that?
Yeah. Wow.
So those are aha moments, and that's what changes the paradigm when those things build up. And I think they're easy to create. That's what that's what some of the classes do for the students, that they create those moments of real expanding their mind into a new way of looking at things, and that's what we're imparting in the class.
Absolutely. Critical thinking, for sure.
Critical thinking, sure.
Important.
Instead of blithely going through life, not being aware of the consequences.
Mm-hmm. But that we can be designing our own environments and realities and interactions and group dynamics and all of that.
You got it.
Well, anything else that you want to share before we wrap up today?
Oh, I don't know. I just want this pandemic to be over with, because it's a culture shock. There's a lot of need for people to get together. And I mean, I've got four people close to me that have suddenly found they have cancer.
Wow.
And it's crushing, because I can't. What can you do? I need my friends. I need my tribe, and I think that with the experience of organizing this group and providing opportunities, we'll be able to do teachable moments, workshops, potlucks, conviviality, learning new skills, learning, where people are living that are close to you that you didn't even know that they were like right around the corner.
Yeah.
And others because they're new people that that there are people that come into my group all the time that are real heavy urban harvest people that are garden people and they have fruit trees in their front yard, but they never took the permaculture class.
Mm-hmm.
So we have an opportunity right here to do it well, and I'm happy to help.
Well, thank you so much, Shawn. It's been great talking to you and for sharing all your wisdom and experience, and just thank you for doing everything that you're doing in the Houston community right now.
Well, I appreciate your help too.